And so it's a nice way because it's a bit of a filtering system. Because if they see you, they don't like you, they're not going to contact you. But if they see you and they like you and they reach out, that would be great.
Yeah, so when your representative reached out to me, we live in like a spam culture.
Yeah.
Right. So there's always messages going out. Hey, these guests would like to be on your podcast. I'm like, okay, like, is this real? Is it not? So I always send back this question every time is what attracted you to my podcast? Why do you feel like your guests, your clients will be a great guest for my podcast? And so if you get something back that's real, then you're like, okay, well, yeah, maybe we can do something. Yeah. But if you don't get anything back at all, it's probably spam.
Yeah. You know what? One thing I don't like is these kind of like on a lot of podcasts, they want you to, their end goal is for you to buy their products and services and whatnot. Where at the end of the day, I'm kind of like, yeah, if it makes sense, possibly, but I don't want that to be your MO as a podcaster. It's trying to sell me something after the meeting's over.
Oh, no. I've gotten those too. So, let's set up a meeting. We got our people. And it's like, okay, I'll take a meeting. And then they go, well, we got these classes that may be great for. I'm like, wait a second. Yeah. I didn't know that this was a meeting about a class or product, but, you just kind of be kind and listen and you go, all right, well, we'll see what happens.
The old bait and switch.
No. Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm glad that we were able to connect. I can already tell like this episode is going to be bomb. It's going to be great. So
we're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I guess we can go ahead and get started. We're live streaming on YouTube. Welcome everybody out there listening, everybody out there watching, whether you're watching today on May 10th, 2022 or May 10th, 2025. I'm glad you're here. And this is the Living Numbers Podcast. And I am your host, Tony Rambles. And I have a wonderful guest here with me today. And you'll all know how I do this. Whenever I have somebody on for the first time, they have to get an introduction. Now, Mr. Fatal does not know about this introduction. He does not know what I'm going to say. So we'll get the live reaction, myself included. So, of course, I have to do a little digging and I have to just kind of put some stuff together. So here we go. Senior financial advisor and owner of Entrepreneurs Wealth Management, graduate of NAIT, Northern Alberta Institute of Technology, former branch manager at Wells Fargo. We could talk about banking later. He loves quotes like, it's never too late to turn things around and stick to the grocery list. That was one of my favorites that I saw. And his company made the 10 best financial advisors in Edmonton list for 2022. I present Mr. Charly Fatal. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that introduction. That's great. You did a little bit of digging.
Just a little bit. I couldn't find all the crazy pictures from college or anything like that. So it's all pretty clean.
See, because I'm 48 and that was before everything you did was recorded. So, and I'm happy I'm from those days because some of the things we did back then, I'm glad nobody knows unless you were in that room.
It's like, because now everything is like recorded. Everything is, we got to share this. Let me get my phone out. People don't even just enjoy the moment anymore. Everything has to be captured. Yeah. And so like, that can be like a cool thing because you can always go back and look at those things. But that can also take you, I feel like, out of the moment at times.
Why are you there? Like, why are you there? I pay money to go and be entertained, not, but I mean, for my field, it's not relevant. Maybe some of the people in their field, marketing and those sort of things, and followers and likes is important. In my world, it doesn't generate any revenue really. And nobody cares if I'm watching the Oiler game or if I'm making a sandwich, to be honest with you.
Hey, so the Oilers in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I'm not much of an Oiler fan, but I'm probably going to go
Okay.
to a couple games. You know, the companies I do business with from time to time send us tickets and whatnot. So if they come my way, I typically give them away, but I'll
Mhm.
probably attend a game or two if they start having a strong run in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. So,
Mm,
hockey is just part of the fabric, even if I never played hockey, which I do know how to ice skate, by the way. But the team was good. Like we had Fedorov, we had Eiserman, we had Chris Chelios, we had those guys, and we were winning. So you just kind of, as a byproduct of living in the city, you
you get
become
sucked in.
you become a
Yeah.
fan of the team.
Yeah. Well, because I'm a fan of my city. So I love my
Mm.
city. I love the people in the city. And so if everyone else is happy, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about hockey, but I'm going to jump in and enjoy the party.
Go.
That's for damn sure.
Yeah, 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 yeah. You go, hey, well, let's plan tonight. Everybody's here. Okay, I'm there. Let's do it. Why not?
And I watch
A
a little
fun
hoop, so
time.
that's kind of cool.
Okay,
I'm
okay,
excited
okay.
about
Before we
that.
get into anything else, okay, we got to talk basketball. We got to talk playoffs because you said that you're a hoops fan. So I can't just let that go. Like I've done normally my I do like playoff episodes. So I kind of keep it a little bit separate
Yeah.
from, the other stuff with the interviews, but you opened the door. So I have to walk through it. So what
Sure.
do you think? What do you think so far?
I like the competitiveness. I think this
Yes.
is one of those years where injuries, I think, is adding more intrigue. It's adding more excitement,
Mm,
and the cream is really, really rising to the top. Like you could see how the Warriors grounded out last night, man. That's
man.
like in their blood. That's DNA pedigree. That's the winning
Yes.
pedigree right there in their DNA, right?
Yes.
So and versus a team that is so talented like Memphis
Yes.
but it's one of the you hear guys talk about they got to learn how to win, and that might be one of those cases where they just got to get the first year in the playoffs, maybe the second year, maybe the third year. That's when they start making a real run.
Yep. Yep.
But
Yep. Because I
I think
was,
the oddest thing is not seeing like LeBron in there, not seeing
yeah.
KD, like really not advancing, and you're kind of like, some of the marketing. Lillard is not in there. It's kind of like, man,
Yep. Some of the mainstays, like staples of playoff basketball, are those guys, and they're not there. But I don't think it's made the playoffs any lesser because of how competitive the games are and how much back and forth there's been. Like we have so many game sixes where you go, like, okay, like this is close. Like, are we getting to game
yeah,
seven? And we didn't. But there hasn't been any like dog series where you go, oh, this is over, this is done. They've all been like somewhat a little pesky, except for Chicago and Milwaukee. Like without, without
yeah,
all their guys, Chicago looked formidable in the beginning and it was cool. But then once they started to get injuries, you go,
yeah.
they don't really have a chance against Giannis. He's too good.
No, no, no.
Um, Real quick, and then we'll kind of move a little bit. But I was talking to a friend of mine, and he really likes Memphis. It was either a friend of mine or one of my kids, because I'm a high school teacher, and of course we talk hoops. And so he's like, "Man, I really like Memphis." And I said the exact same thing that you said. Like the experience of Golden State with
Yeah,
those guys, Clay, Steph, Dre, even Iggy, even though he's not on the court, just kind of by osmosis, being around, that is something that is so invaluable. And Memphis will come to that point eventually because they got a superstar in John Morant. There's no
yeah,
question in that. But those guys have to learn how to not make the silly mistakes or to not get out of their game when things get crazy and they maybe go down by 8 and they go, you know what, we stay the course. Nobody get outside of yourself. Don't start
mhm,
jacking up threes. We just do what we do. And that's invaluable. And that comes from experience.
yeah.
And so really quickly, who do you have in the finals? What do you think?
Well, initially I like the Suns and
Yes.
Milwaukee. That's who I thought would be in the finals. And
Yep.
but Warriors are looking formidable, man. They're looking real nice. They're looking nice. And from the East, I don't know. I don't know if
It's so
if
tough.
Harden could play well, Embiid and them could get through. You never know, man. It's open. Boston. I mean, I'm not a Boston fan, but I mean,
Okay,
those young fellas, they're looking nice.
they're good.
That
So,
D, when they played against my Raptors, man, the way that they
oh
locked
yeah,
down, like they locked them down. You know,
it's
it was
it's
tough.
tough. I'm I'm with you on Phoenix. I believe that they play consistently very, very good. They don't have too many games where you go, they kind of mailed it in. And it's really hard to do that. So I feel like they're really good is better than a lot of people's. And of course, they got a lot of talent on that team. So I've always been on the kind of Phoenix bandwagon getting to the finals because I didn't really see anybody that could stop them. I
Yeah,
am a huge Luka fan, but they don't have enough. Golden State, I feel like they're talented. They're not as talented as Phoenix. And Phoenix kind of reminds me of that. You remember when San Antonio lost to Miami and then they came back that next year and they was just running through everybody. It was like, no matter what you do, I kind of get a feel of that from this Phoenix team. That's the West. I think Phoenix is coming up.
yeah,
They just got too much. And Aiton is a problem because
yeah.
nobody else over there has anybody that's big enough and
They can't
athletic enough
guard
to
him.
handle them.
I'm not a Dallas. When and Luca, I like Luca, but I don't think I would enjoy playing with him.
No,
Like I watched a few games, and you know what I saw? I saw two guys on the baseline, two guys foul line extended,
Yep,
and Luca
at the
for
top.
23 seconds dribbling the ball. Next possession, same thing, 17 seconds dribbling the ball. No
Yeah,
movement,
that's
no
tough.
cutting, no passes. And I was like, you're not going to win like that.
No,
You
you're
won't win
not.
like that. And when I coach, I teach my kids, you got to have motion. That's why when I watch the Warriors play, I'm like, ooh, it's a beautiful
It's
brand of
just, it's the
basketball, man.
ball's popping, it's moving.
Yeah,
Everybody gets to feel because you play basketball. So you know when you just get your hands on that ball a little bit, even if you don't take a shot, you just feel a little bit better about your game.
that's it. You got to touch it. Like if you've been running up and down the floor 6 times, you haven't touched the ball. They haven't even gave you a look. You kind of like, yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead, Luca, cook.
do
you
whatever you
know,
want to do. I'm stand over here,
because
and
I'm not gonna get the ball. I'm just,
it takes
it's
you out of it.
yeah, yeah. But
Okay, real quick,
that's
who
like,
you
yeah.
got out the East?
Go ahead, go
Who you
ahead.
got out the East?
East,
Yeah.
it's a question mark right now.
Okay.
I'm still rolling with Milwaukee,
Yeah.
but you gotta see a couple more games, man. Boston and Milwaukee are the two teams that I think are the most likely. I Miami, I have a
Right.
hard time without Kyle Lowry in there. I
They're not
don't
gonna have
see it.
enough.
Yeah, and then with the 76ers, if Harden could be like MVP, close to MVP
Uh,
Harden, I think they got a chance, but I don't know if they'll be there. So
yeah.
I'm just a fan.
Okay.
I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan.
Yeah.
I like to sit at home, open a bottle of wine, and just
Watch some good
enjoy for a few
ball.
hours.
Yeah. 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 Okay. I say whoever wins Milwaukee, Boston is coming out of the East. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I know we could talk basketball all day. Um, all right. So I got to get into my first number here. My first number is 23 because as I was doing my research, I saw that this is based on Google and Facebook. You have 23 5-star reviews. You got 5
Oh,
stars across the board. I don't see anything lower than 5. Yeah, that's good.
so I
So
can
my
say,
question is,
go ahead.
well, when did you realize? Because I had a conversation with one of my students, and he's a senior. He's about to graduate, and he's kind of like, I have no idea what's next. I don't know what's going to happen once I graduate. And he's kind of having a hard time trying to figure out that next step. And so my question is, when did you realize like finance is kind of what you're into, like the numbers? Like when did you realize like, okay, this is my
Yeah.
niche here?
Well, I'll first comment on the reviews. First of all, I didn't know I had 23 5-star reviews.
Oh
I've
yeah.
never asked clients. I've never solicited anyone to do that. So I probably need to go check that out because maybe I can market that a little bit more. Thank you for bringing that to my
Yeah,
attention.
there you go.
I'm just curious to see what they're saying. Anyways, I know I'm good at what I do, but it's kind of nice to get that unsolicited recognition. But to answer your question, I think when I left high school, I didn't go to college and university right away. I was just kind of loafing around, got a job, cutting carpet in a warehouse. And then the experience that changed my life was I was the warehouse manager and a truck driver out of the US came in and he wanted his truck to be unloaded. And I just said, hey, hang on, I got some things on the go. You got to wait a few minutes. And he bypassed me, went to the front, found the store manager and said, hey, you tell that N-word in the back to unload my truck.
Ooh.
And so needless to say, my manager kicked him out and was upset about it. And then I later found out a couple of days later about, what happened. And at that point in my life, I said, I will always be the N-word to that truck driver, but I can either be the N-word in the back or in the front with a suit and tie on. I said, I'm going to find a career where I'm going to be the N-word in the front with a suit and tie, making the decisions, signing the checks, hiring and firing. And that's what changed my life. So then I went into, I've always liked numbers. I went into nait. It's the Northern Alberta Institute of Technology. I was studying to be an accountant, but then my manager at the time at that store, when he found out I was taking the class, he, very happy, very proud of me. And then he said, Charlie, you have too much personality to be an accountant. And I was like, what do you mean? They make good money. That he goes, go take a look at the controller that runs their organization, and just watch him for a little while and see if you want that to be your life. And so I went observed. His name was Jean. And I saw him in maybe an 8-foot by 8-foot office, and no windows, just a door, piles of paper everywhere, and just grouchy. And I said, I want to do something finance, but I don't want to do that. So I switched and I went into business, and then I got a finance diploma, and I went the route of banking. And so hence my career started with Wells Fargo, and I went on to be in a dealership. And then I started my practice in 2007. So it was that negative experience that actually triggered me to what I do now. That's
funny, because I actually went into banking for a few years, and I enjoyed it. But once I graduated, I went off and did some other stuff. But tell us about what it is that you do. Your time is shining.
So my company is called Entrepreneurs Wealth Management, and I just took a drink and excuse me. And so when I started my practice, I literally, I'm a financial advisor, just getting out there hustling. You get a sign, you put it in front of your lawn, you say, hey, Entrepreneurs Wealth Management, open for business. You get client number 1, client number 2, client number 3, and like other professions like accounting, doctors, lawyers, dentists, same exact thing. You can go work for a big company, or you can put a sign on your lawn and say, open for business, client 1, 2, and so forth. And so when I first started my practice, I took everybody and their dog as a client. I was doing 15, 20 meetings a week, driving all over the place for people that want to invest $20, $50.
Grinding, hustling.
Yeah. And then about 5 years ago, I made a decision that I only want to work with people that I like and people that like me. And so my practice was mature enough that I could make that decision to be a little bit more selective. So what I do for my clients is I help them build personal wealth plans and corporate wealth plans. So if you have a corporation, the main thing is going to be what happens when you want to make a decision to stop working. Where does the money come from to look after your family? Like if you think about it just from a numbers standpoint, you retire at 65, you live to 90, that's 25 years where you got to feed, clothe, shelter yourself. Now, if you don't have any money, what do? Like, it's okay to be broke at 21, but not at 71. So what essentially I do, I just make sure that my clients can make a decision at some point in their life to stop working and don't stress about their money. And so with that said, I maximize their investment returns. I help them with their tax planning, their estate planning, if they're incorporated, making sure that the company is investing wisely, that the structure of their estate is in the right way where they can mitigate some taxes, everything, the estate can transfer seamlessly to their loved ones. So I'm a holistic planner, and pretty much anything financial I can do. You have a business, you want to set up your group benefits, you want to set up a profit sharing, like an employee matching plan, kind of all of that stuff. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. If it's got to do with money, typically I can help.
Wow. So I mean, money is such a huge part of life. It's a huge motivation because you started on the path to accounting going, I want to make enough money. Like sometimes that's just the only question that we have in our minds. And my next question will be, so with this kind of long-term planning that you do, you don't always see I would guess you don't see the benefits always right away. So how do you measure success in your field? So when you look back at Charly, okay, you go, all right, this was a successful day or month, or this was a successful year. What does that look like? What has to transpire for you to go, okay, that was successful?
Well, I can say that what I do is not sexy. It's not like you're going to be making hundreds and hundreds of percent of return a year and whatnot. It's just something that happens over time. And how do I measure my success? I think I measure it by my client success. So I'll give you just a quick story. A client I've had for probably almost 15 years. When I took this client on, she was about 23, 25 years old, just starting making $30,000 a year. And she was probably saving $300 or $400 a month at the time with me. And in that 12 to 15 years, she got 1 promotion, 2 promotions, 3 promotions, found a man she loved, got married, had 3 children, and all bought house number 1, bought house number 2, and being part of that full, like seeing a person from just a small child that just graduated university to now a senior level executive, going from making her income of $30,000 a year to now her and her husband's household income is $300,000 a year plus, going from saving $2,000 or $3,000 a month to saving like $8,000 or $10,000 a month, and just seeing that net worth increase year after year. So the real measure though is every time I have my annual reviews with my clients, we look at their net worth, and that's my measuring stick. Is that where did you start out? The first meeting we had, what was your net worth? Now 1 year later, 2 years later, 3, and all of a sudden 10 years later, go from, hey, when I met you were negative net worth. Now you're positive 2 or 3 or 400,000, right? So that's what gives me joy, is just seeing how my clients progress. But it's not sexy. It's not exciting. It's not like, you don't get those instant rushes when you buy a car or buy, you get a piece of jewelry. It's not like that. It's just a long term.
It's the long game. It's the long game. It's like when Dr. Strange said, we're in the end game now, Tony. Like he was looking at it from all the way down the road, all possibilities, right? I forget what that number is. It's a crazy number. What do you do like for leisure? I know earlier you talked about coaching, you talked about playing basketball. Like, so how do you kind of, de-stress from the work?
My free time, I've always been athletic from the time I was 3-4 years old, and you can run, and so I stay athletic. I still hoop once or twice a week. I volunteer to coach basketball. I had a membership at a private golf club. I've moved, so since I don't have it anymore, but I typically would play 100+ rounds of golf a year. I take vacations. I got 3 kids, 2 grandkids. So I spend a lot of time with my kids. I play with my grandkids. So just staying active. Like I'm 48. I don't really exercise too much, but I stay slim and trim because I eat well and I do a little bit of exercise here and there. I love me some wine. I love me some dark rum. And so when I get home,
all in moderation, right?
Music is playing, have a little shot of rum, and just hang out with my family.
So how old are your kids?
I got a 31-year-old, and she's married with a couple of kids, and I got a 19-year-old boy, and then I got a 15-year-old daughter, soon to turn 16 here in a couple of months. And she plays basketball at a pretty high level, so it's real nice watching her play, and all those days of driving her to practice and training and rehab, and it's starting to come to fruition, to seeing her skill level compared to her peers. It's just a lot of fun watching her play.
So you've always had like that relationship through sports with your kids?
Absolutely, yeah. And sports kept me out of trouble. I look at a lot of my friends growing up that, a few of them went astray. Most of them pretty straight, including myself. But just having sports as an outlet it helped me. It helped me stay a bit more focused and kind of achieve my long-term goals. I have a lot of friendships through sports as well that, we've kept in contact over the years, which is nice.
Yeah, it's amazing how I feel like the two things that are really bring people together, like no matter where you're from, because you're from Canada, and we can talk about that in a second, actually, is sports and food. Like no matter where you're from or wherever you're going, sports, food, and you could probably throw music in there as maybe maybe a distant third because of a language barrier that could be possible.
Yeah.
But when I lived in China, because I graduated college and I moved to China, my wife and I, just as let's do something different, let's do something new, let's get out of here. So, but when you stepped on the court, like that was the language was, we got the ball, we got the hoop, and you just ball. If you know how to play basketball here, you know how to play basketball there and anywhere else. Like it's all the same language. It's movement, is shooting, is passing, is reading body language. So just sports I can really relate to, because I mean it transcends so many different barriers, and it helps to bring people together. And you said food and wine, shoot, a lot of people like to eat, and we got to eat. So it's fun.
I think it was 5 years ago. I was in Croatia, and I think it's called Dubrovnik. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that correctly. But we're just touring through the old city, and apparently Game of Thrones was, some of the episodes were filmed there, and we're roaming through this 1,000-year-old city, and all of a sudden I could just hear a ball bouncing.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, I had on my running shoes and shorts. It's nice out. And I'm like, somebody's hooping somewhere. So I listened, and I found my way to that court, and I hooped with these guys for a couple hours, man. I just had not really basketball shoes, but I'm like, when do you get to do this, to be in Croatia on the top of like a 1,000-year-old building with this modern day basketball court, and you just hooping with some strangers, having fun for a couple hours, man. It was awesome. It was great.
It's nothing like it. It really reminds me, like that's one of the first things that I did when I moved. I was just like, I know they play basketball over here. Like, where are the courts? Like, I just got to find the courts. And I met so many people. I still have relationships with those people that it all just came from, playing basketball. Some of them are from here. Some of them are from there. But you live in Canada. How often do you come over to the States? Is that like a normal thing? I mean, it's so close.
Yeah, I typically pre-COVID, I would probably once or twice in the winter head down to either Scottsdale or Vegas or Phoenix to play golf for a few days with my buddies. A lot of work conferences, they'll have incentives and retreats down there. Yeah. So usually it's once or twice a year I'll find my way across the border.
So those vacations and those kind of being able to get away, those things are huge when we start talking about work-life balance. And I brought that up because I saw this article, and it's from the Harvard Journal. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And it said work-life balance isn't a destination, it's a cycle. So it's just continuously going. And so they had like these 5 steps. And so I'm gonna read them off, and then I'll give you the mic. It says the first one is pause and denormalize. So like working all the time is not supposed to be normal. Okay. Number 2, pay attention to your emotions. Okay. Where are you? Are you high? Are you low? Do you enjoy going to work? Do you not? Number 3 is reprioritize. So when you recognize something is wrong or off, okay, now it's time to shift some things around. Number 4 is consider your alternatives. Right? Does that look like dropping some things that are stressing you out? Does that look like finding a different job? Okay. And then number 5 is implement changes. So once you figure all this out, okay, now what are the steps to do this differently? So 5 is our next number for the podcast. And so my question to you is work-life balance attainable? And I asked that from this backdrop. That's the word. Especially because you are a basketball guy and you go Kobe and Michael Jordan, arguably the best. And they go, well, I sacrificed a lot of the things that were important to me to be the greatest.
Yeah.
And so sometimes like work-life balance is like, it doesn't exist for some people in this, they chose to be that way because they want to get to a certain level or goal. So my question is work-life balance attainable, especially when you're trying to be the best in your field?
Yeah, great question. Let me pause just for a second to kind of give it some thought.
Mhm.
When I started my practice in 2007, and I was a finance director at a pretty large dealership here in the city, and make great income. You got a free car, free gas, all that. That was great. But what I didn't like was on the first of every month, because it was a 100% commission-based job, you started at zero and you worked your
Yep.
way up, and you made, whether it's 1,000 or 100,000, and then the next month you started at zero and you
Yeah.
keep repeating that cycle. So I just woke up one day and I said, man, it sure would be nice to be paid from
Yeah.
something I did 3 years ago. And what I did was I said, I need to find something in the financial services industry that has some sort of residual, some sort of ownership. And that's what led me to be a financial advisor. I didn't know that you could actually be a financial advisor and own your own brokerage. Choose what companies you work with, choose what investments you do, choose whatever area you want to specialize in. This career was never taught in school, and I never knew about it until I just sort of happened to kind of fall into it. And when I realized what you can have, the first thing I did was I said, I need to be independent and I need to have control over who my clients are. I need to have control of my time, some control of my income. I've always been used to having a fairly good income. So I was like, how can I maintain that level, but still be able to have some autonomy where I can take vacations? I didn't like the idea of having a boss all the time. And so is it achievable? Absolutely. My industry, it is. People that do what I do after 10, 15 years of doing it, and if you've done a good job and you've built a practice, typically you can take off 2, 3, 4 months a year and your income really isn't affected that much. Because once you have an established book of business, you're continually getting paid just for managing those clients. Now, of course, you got to be good at what you do. People will leave you. If you're crappy, they'll leave you in a heartbeat because you're managing their money. And if their neighbors is making 20% return and they're averaging 3 or 4, well, they're going to go over there. And mathematically, it 100% makes sense. So you still got to be good at what you do. But for the work-life balance in my industry, absolutely, it's attainable because I don't get paid. Like, I don't have to get on new clients every single day to get compensation. So that's what I love about our industry.
So what does a day look like for you? Like, you wake up at what time? Just give us the steps.
Oh man, it's gonna sound like I don't do much. Like, a day today versus a day 12 years ago, it's a lot different, right? I mean,
let's do both. Compare the two.
Sure. So when I first started, I would say I was probably doing 15 to 20 or 25 appointments a week. An appointment is going to be anywhere from 60 minutes to 2 hours, driving here, driving there. I had my kids were young at the time. And so I was busy from like 6 a.m. till like 9 or 10 p.m., like every day. And in between driving to my kids, like I'd be the one that, here you go, the classes go into the farm and they need 3 parent chaperones. That's me going there. Hey, we need a volunteer for the basketball team or the music, this, they're going. I would do all of those things. That was then. Now, what does it look like? I maybe wake up 7:30, have a leisurely breakfast, have coffee, pick my fit for the day, iron what needs to be ironed, you shower. I shave my head every morning, trim the beard, get to the office, have a coffee, if there's any emails or phone calls, look through any meetings I have to do, client reviews. I make 5 outbound calls every day. That's my goal, is 5 outbound sales sort of related calls, whether it's calling centers of influence like mortgage brokers, accountants, people I have a relationship with, just to be like, hey, how's everything going? Whatever. And I typically have 3 to 5 client meetings a week, like face-to-face or Zoom. And so, and if it's 1 o'clock and I want to go play golf, I tell my assistant, hey, I'm going to go play golf. I go play golf. And that's kind of my life. Like it's pretty chill.
Hey man, don't be ashamed of your chill life. You've earned it. Like you've worked to get to this point. Like it was, like you just said, it wasn't always chill. Like you were grinding. Like, so this question popped in my head. Like, so when you're on these not vacations, well, maybe vacation too, but when you're on these like field trips and stuff with your kids, like are you on, like, is it turned on? Like, are you looking around like, okay, like who could be a client? Or like, are you always
No.
no,
When I literally, I was a member at a private golf club here for 5 years, and everybody's like, oh, you're going to get so many clients. I got 0 clients because I said, when I want to go have recreation, I want to go have recreation. Because if I went and I had 50 clients there, it means every third hole you're going to be seeing somebody, Charlie, how are my investments?
Hey, yeah, what did my portfolio look like?
Yeah,
It's like,
and I'm like, I go there to relax, to talk about
yeah, I'm on the
sports,
back
politics.
nine. I'm not talking about your portfolio.
That's it. So I literally, and there's people there that they would, hey, they find out, hey, what I do, and I'm pretty good at what I do. They're like, Charlie, can we talk about this? I'd kind of brush them off. I wouldn't say no, but I'll just be like, listen, man, I just came here to golf. I just want to golf. I want to have a little fun. That's it. So no, it's not on for me. Now, if I go to a networking event, a place where I think it's appropriate, if I'm, I have a couple of networking groups I'm a part of that, give professional referrals. If I meet a client's accountant, definitely I'm going to try to make a good impression so that accountant can send more clients to me. So I try to separate recreation and work. Now, again, 12 years ago, I probably was looking for opportunities everywhere I went, but now I don't typically look for the opportunities unless it like falls in my lap where I'm like, okay, I should actually help this person.
Yeah. So like for me, because I have a podcast and I've been doing it for over a year, the Living Numbers Podcast. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok at _TonyRambles_. You can email the show tonyrambles@gmail.com. I'm always like, whenever I'm talking to people, I find like, not always, but oftentimes I'm kind of like in interview mode. Like, okay, I'm just asking questions. And I don't know what came first, the chicken or the egg. Do I have a good podcast because I'm like that? Or am I like that because I have a podcast? So, but I'm always like, man, this person might be a really good guest. And it could be a teacher that I'm talking to, down the hall from me, because I work at a high school.
Yeah.
And I'm not one of those people that are like, let me put my head down, let me not be noticed, let me just do my work and get out of here. Like I'm social. Like I love to connect. I love to talk to people. And so I always feel like, we have so many great people around us. We just have to ask the right questions. Like everybody's interesting in some kind of way. And so I'm always like, okay, dang, like this teacher would be a great on the show, or this family member. Like I don't have just anybody and everybody. So it's always, I'm always kind of on in that way. Like, I don't know if that's good or bad, or I don't know if people will get tired of me talking about my podcast, but it's who I am.
Well, you're at the beginning stage, right? So you absolutely got to be out there, right? For me, I'm an introvert. So I actually, like a lot of people that when they meet me, they're like, no way, this guy's an introvert. But I am an introvert. I'm the one in the back of the class that says very little, but I listen. I listen to everything everybody says. One of the things I always tell my kids is you make decisions based on the information you have. And so when I meet somebody, I always, like you, ask questions because I'm like, I don't know nothing about this person. What information will they volunteer? So I ask lots of questions all the time, and I listen. And it's funny how when you ask lots of questions, people think you're so interesting because they're talking all the time, but I'm just listening.
Yep. And people love to talk about themselves usually. And if you just, I'm not gonna say act interested because that makes it sound fake, but if you just ask the questions, people will honestly just kind of start to like you more because they feel like you're interested in them. They want you, like you want to know about them. So we'll get out of here on a couple more things, right? So I have my 3 whats. So I have 3 specific questions that I ask my guests before we go. And then I want you to talk about money, mind, DNA before we go.
Correct.
So my first what's an opinion you have in your field that would be considered unpopular?
I think choosing who you work with, because like I was explaining a little bit earlier, 5 years ago, I made the decision to work with people that I like and that they like me. So what I did was I actually changed my process where the first meeting with me is 45 minutes and it is 100% non-financial. So I don't know whether you're worth $1 or 100 million. The questions I ask, and if somebody starts talking about, well, this is what I do for money, this is what I make here, I'm like, no, 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 no. This is 100% non-financial. I just want to look at you in the eye, you look me in the eye. And my thing is, are you a good human? Are you a good person?
So
do we align morally, ethically? If I was stuck in an elevator with you for 3 hours, would I dread that experience? Or would I be like, you know what, it'll be okay. Doesn't mean we have to be best friends, but it's like, do we align morally, ethically? From my standpoint, you take on a client and you got to work with this person for 5, 10, 20, 30 years. For me, I want to enjoy that interaction. I don't want to work with any douches. I don't want to work with any jerks. I mean, I would use other words, but I mean, I don't want to work with
Thank you for not.
I want to work with nice people, because there's nice people with $1 and there's nice people with 100 million. There's also jerks with 100 million. There's also jerks with $1. So I just want to work with the good people. So it's really unique in my practice, is that my first meeting, and it's sometimes people say, oh, that's a waste of time. Just find out what they have. I'm like, no, I first need to know, am I going to enjoy working with this person for 20 plus years? So that's the
unpopular.
Yeah, that's the unpopular one. It's like, no, you could be more efficient. You could do more meetings, because that first meeting is a waste. I'm like, no, it's not. It is absolutely not.
Man, it's such a big difference when you're working with people that you like, or that you at least just get along with. So, I mean, that could be a whole different podcast in itself. I won't even go there. We'll just start talking and we'll be all in some other place. Okay.
Yeah.
If you weren't a financial advisor with your own firm, what would you be doing?
Probably I'd be back in the dealership, and I'd be a finance director or a dealer principal, something like that. I enjoyed working at the car dealership. I like the income. I'm a competitive person, so that environment kind of suit me well, where it's numbers related. There's some recognition for finishing first, second, third. So I probably will be a finance director or own a dealership, something like that.
Right. You'd still be doing some numbers in some kind of way.
Yeah. And I like people, and I think I'm really good with people because I listen, I don't sell, and I find solutions. And I thought it's a good fit in that industry when you have someone that listens well and just finds what you need, as opposed to trying to sell something to you and jam something down your throat because they're making money or commissions.
A friend of mine worked at a dealership, and he said he enjoyed it, but the hours were just ridiculous. They were crazy. He was making money, and he was just like, the hours, and he's got 2 young kids. And so, I've heard good things about the dealership. My last is, what advice would you give to someone in your position, any position in life that you have been in? What advice would you give that person? It could be from the dealership. It could be from the bank. It could be from the warehouse. It could be the high school kid that you were. Talk to, I guess, yourself from back then.
I think my life would be a lot different if I had somebody like me in my life when I was in my early 20s or just started, because, saving money, like, it's not something that's talked about culturally. It's not something that's talked about through our education system. There's no real emphasis on, hey, save money, and not save money at 1 or 2%, saving money where you're getting 8, 10, 12, 15%. So if I can give any advice to anybody is, you don't have to wait until you have hundreds of thousands of dollars to go talk to somebody like myself. Even if you are in bankruptcy, even if you have not even 2 cents to rub together, or you have $10 million, you just need to have a professional in your life so that whatever dollar you have, you can maximize that dollar. So my advice to anybody is, have a financial advisor. You have a doctor, you have a lawyer, you have an accountant. Very few people have a financial advisor. So just have that financial person in your life, someone that you could that actually knows about the investment world, the insurance
Yeah.
world, the tax world, that they can actually give you proper advice. So that would be my advice to anyone. It's just having someone and starting saving money. That's it. Can't do nothing with it. If you don't have no money, you can't do anything.
Yeah, tell me about it. Been there before. I think I was looking on your Facebook page. I think it was on Facebook, or it was on one of those pages. It might have been on the website. And it was asking all of these questions. It said, why do you need a financial advisor? Well, can you answer this question? Can you answer this question? I think it was like taxes. It was about a bunch of different things. I think it was maybe like 8 or 10 questions. And it said, if you can't answer at least 2 of those, then you need a financial advisor. And I was like, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Cause it's true. Like this stuff that financial advisors deal in, when you start talking about insurances and investments, that's not common knowledge to everybody. Somebody has to study this stuff and figure it out. And those people then in turn bring that knowledge to other people so that they can make proper decisions.
Yeah.
So definitely. Okay. Now I want you to talk about something that you are putting on, I believe, with some others as well. And it's called MoneyMindDna. Please tell the audience about what this is.
Yeah, this is the project that I've been probably the most excited about in my professional career. And it started about 1.5 years ago at an event. A friend of mine, his name is Dr. Mikolai Rasik. I hope I have a hard time pronounce his name sometime. Yeah. But he owns a company called Mirgenomics, and they give people access to DNA sequencing. So he put on an event with a bunch of physicians and medical type people. And he asked me to come along and just do a talk from the financial standpoint, talk about some financial concepts, just to complement what he was doing. And in that meeting, there's another doctor there, Dr. Gans, and he's a psychologist. And we just connected. Somehow, we're seated together and we just started talking. And I'm just like, you're a good dude. And then I'm like, Mikolai's a good dude too. And then we stayed in touch. And I don't know how this thing actually came together, but we're like, man, it would be so awesome if we can work together. And so for me, I'm a financial advisor. Dr. Gans, he's a psychologist, and his book and his sort of catchphrase is Ask Dr. Gans, and he wrote a book called The Me Factor, and it focuses more on yourself. His thing is about prevention, not waiting until the problem is so bad that it can't be fixed. It's right when you kind of start seeing things going a little bit sideways. It's like, oh, let's jump in now, because so you don't fall completely off the cliff. And then for Dr. Rasik, it was he was like, it's your DNA. Like we have technology now that could tell you any predisposition you have. It can tell you if you're pregnant that, hey, your child, your unborn child, these are the complications, or this is conditions that they could potentially have. And so at some point we were hanging out and he said, let's do something together. And we're like, well, how do we combine our 3 expertise, and who is going to give a crap to want the 3 of our expertise? And one of the things that came to mind for me was that the reason why I've quit or left jobs. And I thought, how do we solve that problem? If you're a business owner and you want to keep your retention, you want to keep people off disability, you want to keep people happy, what are the sort of the key things that you need to do? Okay, well, if all of your employees had their money straight, everybody has a structured financial plan, they're properly insured, they have a retirement plan with some dates and some specific money that they're going to get when they stop working. You have set up group benefit plans. And then that's from the money side. The mind side of things is, if all of your employees have a resource where they're like, hey, my 15-year-old, there's some funny things happening here, I need to intervene. My marriage is starting to slip a little. Whatever it might be, you're like, hey, I have a resource that I can call or email to say, hey, this is what's going on. We need some help here. Right. And the last one from the DNA standpoint is that, again, if you're a business owner and like if you give your employees access to have their DNA sequenced, and now those employees, obviously as an employer, you don't know what their medical records are. But with that person working in conjunction with their medical doctor, they now know, hey, I have a predisposition for this. Now they can actually have some intervention to say, hey, we're going to keep you healthy. We're going to keep you working. Now, think about a business that has those three things, those resources available both to their employees versus a business that doesn't. What is your bottom line going to look like? What is your retention going to be like? What is your productivity going to be like? Absenteeism, your disability claims and your WCB claims, those sort of things, right?
Right.
So that is the goal, is to help business owners retain their staff, have happier, healthier employees, and the bottom line, make more money. That's, you own a business. Why you in business? Make more money and keep life simple. So that's our program, and that's what we do. We'll come in with a business, and whether you clean the floors or you sit in the C-suite, we're going to individually work with everybody and get their money, their mind, and their DNA to a point where everything is right. And that's our business, and that's what we're going to do.
And when you see that your company is invested in you like that, then you care a little bit more. And this analogy came to my mind, the Miami Heat, right? Heat culture.
Yes.
And when people become a part of Heat culture and they go to that team and they really break you down, figure out everything that you really need to do, get you on individualized plans, and they put you in the best shape of your life, and you had the best years of your life there in Miami. And that's why a lot of people don't leave. Look at Udonis Haslam. Like, he'll never leave Miami.
The weather helps too.
Absolutely. No question. Right? I think that what better place to end it? Okay, where can people find you? T for Tony, Mr. Fatal.
Yes, they can go on to www.mindmoneyddna.com. Really simple. And from there, if they want to have access to myself or my other two partners, we have our company's information on there as well. But the key thing, and I don't like, again, I don't like marketing, but it's like, if you own a business and you want to separate yourself from your competitors, we want to work with you. We're going to be selective on the type of businesses that we work with. I use the same process where I'm like, our first meeting is, we need to understand who the business owner is, the culture of that business, and do we want to align our brand with them? And so once they pass that test, that's when we're going to actually go ahead and make a decision to work with them. But that's the thing, is just reach out to us, and we're starting to put on some events, some free events where business owners, their employees can come check us out. Probably every 4 to 6 weeks, we're going to put on an event, free event, and then we'll continue to follow up from there. So like when you work with, for myself, when I work with two doctors that are that are high level in their professions, and I've got to spend a year and a half with these gentlemen, I'm telling you, they know their stuff and they act polished in front of the camera, but we are all just a bunch of silly, goofy men that just do silly, goofy men stuff, man. Doesn't matter how much money you have or don't have. A dude's a dude, and I've really enjoyed working with these guys. I just wish they could have been here with us, but hopefully maybe next time,
Well, actually, I'm going to have one of these episodes with Dr. Gans.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, you're gonna brilliant man, for the amount of years he's been doing what he does and the companies that he's worked with, you're gonna enjoy that interview.
Well, there we go. Hey, that's a short plug there. Y'all know that's coming up. I think we'll probably record on Thursday. So man, it was a pleasure. Like, this was
I
awesome.
gotta ask you a question. Like, a brother with three guitars in the back, because I control my background. I'm like, I want it's got to reflect me. It's got golf, basketball, music, flowers, and those sort of things. What's your story with the music?
Okay, so wow. Okay, here we go. So this guitar, and this one. When my wife and I first got married, I bought these guitars as a way for us to enjoy something together, to kind of grow and learn something together. This was 9 years ago. I probably bought the guitars maybe a little bit earlier than that, but something for us to enjoy together. Needless to say, I still play and I enjoy it. She does other things. This guitar in the middle is a friend of mine from church, James. Shout out to you. He actually gave me that guitar when he found out that I played. And at that time, I only had the acoustics and I wanted an electric guitar. So James was like, hey, man, I got a guitar at the house, I'll get it suitable and then I'll bring it for you. So I was like, okay, cool. And so he pulled up and I now have that one. I don't play it anymore. It's kind of just, a memory. It's a relic at this point. And this one here is the one that I actually play more often than any of the other ones. It was a birthday present, I think 3 years ago at this point. So that one really got me back into playing guitar when we got back from China. Because when we left, I didn't, I'm not taking guitars with me, So once we got back, I was back for a little bit, and then we got our apartment, and we were staying there, and so she got me this wonderful guitar for my birthday, and I was back playing. So, ironically, they're all kind of different stages of life, and they represent different things from different people. So. Really cool stuff.
I was 9 years old and I started taking piano lessons. I got 2 older brothers and I really enjoyed it, but they kept making fun of me. That's lame. That's this. It's one of those big regrets in my life. I'm like, man, if you know how to play an instrument, it's so cool. It's just so cool. It's just so cool. But they made fun of me real hard that I'm like, I told my mom, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't take it.
How much older are your brothers?
One's older, one's younger. I'm in the middle. So, and I'm like, nah. And I'm the quiet one, the chill one. And I didn't like getting picked on. So I'm like, I'm not doing this.
Like, what, this is causing me too much grief. It's not worth it.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
Well, everyone, this was episode 42 with tcharlyfatal. You can find him at moneyminddna.com, right? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, you can find him there as well as his wealth management services. He is the man, all 5-star reviews. And it was awesome having this conversation. We definitely have to do it again. And obviously go listen and find me on TikTok, Instagram at _TonyRambles_. You can find me on YouTube as well, where we're live streaming this. At the Living Numbers Podcast, Spotify, Apple, Google, everywhere. And I will see you all in the next ramble.
Thank you, sir.